Hey, how are you going? You up in Sunderland, I'm assuming.
Yeah, like I live out the back of County Durham, like Durham. So, but yeah, same
Okay.
same place. I work in Sunderland, so
Ah, right, okay. What do you do there?
I'm a teacher,
Ah, okay, I didn't know that.
teach primary school.
How long you been doing that?
12 years? 11, 12. Yeah.
Ah, okay. Was that quite a, don't know, natural thing to do alongside being in a band? I don't know.
I don't know. I always used to want to be a teacher when I was a kid. Mum and dad are teachers, sister's a teacher, ex-wife's a teacher. Don't know. I started doing it when about album before I went to uni. And then when Barry was really poorly and we decided to knock it on the head in the kind of mid but early tens type of thing. I just followed it through then. So
Ah, cool. It's primary school, a bit of everything.
yeah, I'm like maths lead in the school, but
Right.
I teach everything. Yeah, so ironically, apart from music, because we've got like this amazing head teacher who's like the amazing like musical singer, and she runs the choir and stuff, and she's really into it. So
Fair enough. They must call on you from time to time, though.
yeah, I do me bit like I just like showing off, really.
Well, I know Ross is a Man United fan, anyway. I'm hoping you're a Sunderland fan, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, enjoying it at the minute.
Yeah, so it was weird. Like I grew up like I was an Everton fan when I was a kid because my dad was a mag and
Ah, right.
my mum's from Borough, so I wasn't allowed to support Sunderland, but all my mates supported Sunderland. Um, and then like obviously as I got older, my dad wasn't really bothered, so started going to Sunderland games and stuff. But I
Ah,
don't
fair.
go anymore like, but I used to go all the time.
Yeah, yeah. So I was just, I was having a bit of a Google rather, because I we met once briefly in a nightclub or some or an indie night in Sunderland, and I know it was around the time when Ronaldinho scored against Chelsea in the
Oh
Champions
really?
League. You know that mad goal he scored at Stamford Bridge. I don't know if you remember it.
I don't know.
It's like a toe poke thing, but it was around. I remember watching that in Sunderland, like maybe the night after or the night before, and then
Right.
it was me and my mate went just randomly went to see my mate's brother at uni, and we looked in NME as you did back then, the gig listings, and it was
Yeah.
like, oh, what's on in Sunderland, and the Automatic were playing, if you remember them.
All right. What's coming over the hill?
Exactly, yeah. So we went to see them in some venue, and then we found like an indie night, like an upstairs indie night, and you were in there. Do you remember
They've
an
been
upstairs indie night?
independent now. Well, they
Ah,
are.
okay, right.
What year? A lot of been then about.
2005.
Sounds about right.
It's like a Tuesday night or something.
Yeah, I'll be right.
Yeah, I just remember like I remember Yeah Yeah's being on, and then I
Mm,
remember briefly saying all right to you, but anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in.
nice. But I looked a bit different then. I couldn't even grow a beard until about fucking 2010 or something.
I'm still struggling now, mate. Look at it. But yeah, I suppose just got we got a lot of questions off social media and stuff, but
Right.
so it's gonna be a bit all over the shop. But I remember one thing I didn't ask Ross about Hounds of Love. Apparently, you said that was one of your mixtapes. That's why you used to listen to it or something. Is that right?
Yeah, so we did this. We did like a tour of squats in Germany, but it must have been 2001, 2002, with a band from the Northeast called Milky Whim Shake, like DIY thing, all in the same van, sharing gear. And like at the time, it was like tapes, and I'd made like an alphabetical mixtape. So it's like AC/DC was A, and then Kate Bush, Hounds of Love was B. And I remember on that, like we used to stick it on after kind of gigs and that, and we'd be driving. And every time Hounds of Love came on, everyone used to like stop and listen. And Barry was like, "Oh, we should do a cover of this." So yeah.
Yeah, did
So,
all right, didn't
yeah, well, yeah. I
it?
grew up listening to Kate Bush. Like my mum and dad weren't big into music, but I think my dad probably fancied Kate Bush because he had the whole story in the car. We used to listen to it all the time. Um, yeah, so
Yes, but what I didn't ask Ross was like, did you ever get any feedback from Kate Bush? Because obviously quite a
mm.
clandestine character, but
Yeah. So when we were recording the second record, she phoned us. Ross gets really embarrassed about this actually, but so we're in this farm in Scarborough, and she called, and none of us dared answer the phone.
what?
So
So you knew it was coming, like,
yes. So like the label had told her she was going to ring, and then she left a voicemail on this on the answer phone saying like, "Hi Futureheads, it's Kate Bush. Just want you to know I love what you've done with Hounds of Love, and I hope yourself will have a Merry Christmas. And Ross like transferred it onto his phone, so he had it on his like mobile, and then he just forgot to like renew the thing, so it got erased, and now it's gone forever in the
Oh
ether.
no.
One of those massive regrets.
So you knew she was ringing, then none of you wanted to answer
Yeah,
it. So you got the
yeah,
message, right?
yeah. I mean, we'll have been like, what? I'll have been 20, 23. I was just,
Yeah.
I mean, I just think, yeah, probably just too shy. I don't know. Like, well, also, what do you say when Kate Bush rings you? I heard some crazy stat the other day, though, that said, like, it's been longer between our version of Hounds of Love and now than it was between the original coming out and us doing it.
That
It's
is
just
mad,
like,
isn't
oh,
it?
just like, don't tell us that one away. Just don't
Yeah.
tell us that.
Yeah, it's mad to think about stuff like that. All right, mate. Well, cheers for putting your list of songs together.
Were
Well,
they all right then, ones?
yeah, spot on, mate. Like, done it quite a while now, so it's good to have good to get some different songs, which you've definitely provided.
Yeah, I figured it was going to be one of them ones where like we could all say like the top 10 indie hits of the mid noughties, couldn't we? But like I don't know, it's kind of pointless, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's definitely good for me. So the first one, band called Field Music.
Yeah, so film music are our best mates in a way. We there was a Sunderland band. We started off making music, and like we had a studio together called Eight Music, where the four members of the Futureheads, the two brothers, the Bruce brothers from them would put in, and there'd be a couple of other lads as well. And we kind of came up side by side. Pete from Field Music used to play drums in the Futureheads because Dave was at school. Um, I could have picked 25 of their songs that would be like, they're probably like my favorite band. And that's like really embarrassing when it's your mate's band. But they're literally incredible. And it's very rare to have two songwriters in a band that both write quite different but equally excellent songs. And they both play all the instruments whenever they want. And then just sort out kind of who's going out live. This song, I think, did I pick In Context?
Yeah.
It's got like a really cool video as well. Got loads of like things on YouTube. It's got like a zoomed in video and that kind of comes out. But yeah, they're just one of those bands that like we would always listen to. I would always listen to and be like jealous, but like proud and love it. And they're like technically incredible. They are amazing singers. They've got a real kind of basis in harmony and stuff like that we have. And they love kind of odd chords, Lydian mode, polyrhythms, and yeah, we just they're like a rock band as well. You know, they love Zeppelin and they love Queen. So I don't know, they've got all that within their canon, and they're just brilliant.
Okay, so let's play it then. Here's In Context by Field Music. But I mean, they've had a good career, haven't they? So I remember, well, I've heard Lauren Laverne big them up quite a few times on
Yeah,
Six Music and stuff. They've spanned quite a while, yeah.
yeah. So I mean, they started at the same time as us, really, and they're still going now. They're uh, they're just really good. They've had like Mercury nominations, you know what I mean? And they've like they call it this thing Prince Day, where Prince before he died like tweeted about them, and it
Oh, wow.
just said like field and then the name of the song and then music, and like every day on that day they they repost that on socials and stuff like that. They're an incredible band and they're great guys. Just like just love hanging out with them, love hearing what they're doing next music wise, and they kind of it's one of those things where like when we were in like such a tight scene with them and like loads of people in Sunderland, but then like we kind of went outside of that and field music did as well. But then it was always good to come back and see what other people were doing, like other records that people were listening to kind of try and steal things from. And I think when we did our first album, we were obviously super proud of it and stuff. But when we did our second record with Ben Hillier, I remember the field music boys being like, that's like production wise, the first time where they'd been like kind of like, all right, okay, we've got to kind of raise our game now and like kind of like took some ideas from that and kind of bounced off each other a bit. And yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We had Felix White on recently from the Maccabees, and he was
Yeah, I heard
bigging
that
up.
one. Yeah,
Did you- He was bigging up the second album. Is that the one with Curp on? Yeah.
yeah, that's got that one on. Yeah,
He said he
that
thinks
was,
it's like criminally underrated, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know about that. I mean, yeah, we were super proud of that album. We just, it's one of those ones where we just did exactly what we wanted, and it kind of, it seems more like almost like introspective than it was meant to. I just think like we were listening to like Rumors by Fleetwood Mac for loads of that recording session. You know, it's one of the biggest albums of all time. Um, but it didn't do as well financially as the first album, but it's sonically it's equally as good, and it's just a bit different. I love that. It's my favorite of our albums. Not that I particularly listen to them often.
Sorry if I do,
Yeah,
yeah. No, he still had like at least one big single off that album, yeah? Is that right?
yeah. Skip to the End was on there. I think we did Worry About It Later as a single as well. Um, yeah, it's got some tunes on we love playing. It's just that we started using like acoustic guitars and trying to, you know, like make it a little bit different. Um, but also what's strange is that like, I mean, I know you've had loads of bands on and that, but like your first record, we like literally went like through like three incarnations that before that one came out, and then the second album it was like, right guys, you got 10 weeks, go and write an album and then start recording it. You know what I mean? So it was a much more condensed process, which gives you a better snapshot of where the band's at, but it doesn't let you like we didn't play those songs live before we recorded them. We didn't know the ins and outs, and then quite the opposite. For the first time, we recorded the songs for news and tributes, and then had to learn how to play them live. And we'd done all these really complicated harmonies, and like the songs had loads more space in, and it just sounded really weird. So there were like album tracks off the first record that we felt more confident playing live than singles off the second record. But that was just part of how like kind of growing as a band, really. And just the next step. Third record we did differently again. Fourth record we did differently again. You know, it's all new at the time and scary. But is it David Bowie who said that thing about like the best music's made when you like as if you're like walking out to sea and your feet are just barely touching the ground? If you were talking about teaching, Vygotsky would call that the zone of proximal learning when you're just out your comfort zone. And I think that's true. So we were like kind of like, oh my God, what are we doing here? We're making this like new sound. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think maybe Felix's point was more he wishes you played more off that second album live or something. Maybe that's not underrated. I don't know. Might be misquoting him.
Yeah, no, he did. I mean, he did say that. We do play a little bit more now. We never play Cope like. I heard him. He asked that. He came to the gig, a couple of the gigs recently. He was like, "Are you playing Cope?" We're like, "No, I'm not doing that one." But I think we know three or four of that record. But it's like if you play three or four of every album, you're playing like 16, 20 songs now, aren't you? So it's like you gotta be careful.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, nice one. Let's go to the next song then. Hot Chip, Over and Over. Bit of a different vibe to what
Yeah, it
maybe
is.
people would expect. I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't think it is one that people would expect. There's a few things about this song. Number one, it's a stone cold banger, I think. Um, but this song for me reminds me of when we started doing a bit of DJing like 2007, 2008. We started doing a bit of DJing, and I was terrible at it. Like I'm like Ross was really good at it, right? And like I was just crap at it, but I used to love playing this song, and like it is very different for us. It's not a record that we really talk about with the band. I mean, I know Ross really likes Hot Chip as well, and I do. But they're cool. They're a good band. They're kind of quirky. They've got that kind of like oddball vibe. The video for this song is a little bit kind of like what we ended up accidentally ripping off at the beginning of the Twist video, where it's almost like that deconstructed green screen type of thing. Kind of works really well for the song. I don't know much about the band, but I definitely get the impression that they're kind of like looking at it with a kind of sideways glance type of thing, not trying to be too kind of in the industry or something, but then also being absolutely massive at the same time, because that was like NME single of the year, I think. What is quite funny about it is though I was listening to these songs the other day. I made a playlist after I sent them to you just to make sure that I remembered like certain things, and my girlfriend was like, "What's this?" I was like, she'd never heard it, and I just remember thinking like, "Whoa, we're from like different worlds." This was like it was like everywhere in indie clubs in like 2006 or whatever. So, yeah,
Yeah, that's mad. Is she similar age to us, like?
she's a couple of years younger than me, but she's just not interested in indie music at all. You know,
Ah, fair play.
but it's mad how you like, I've only known her 4 or 5 years now, but like yeah, just like completely different like upbringing in your kind of 20s, and it's like you just miss so many like kind of the same points. I was just like, what do you mean you've heard this? Like some of the music I listen to, I get that she's never heard it. You know what I mean? But like with that one, I was just like, all right, yeah, I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, yeah. All right, well, let's play it then. Here's Hot Chip with Over and Over. Then next, a band that always kind of known the odd single here and there, but never really got that into. But The Kills with Pull of You. Why this particular song?
So we did one of our first like tours with the Kills, like Barflies, kind of that kind of 200, 250, 300 capacity rooms, supporting them. And there's a few things about that band and that tour that were very important. Number one, not to sound like too kind of, I don't know, wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, but like they just like when we met them and we went on tour and we were like really competent, and we were like the first record was like done, I think, and we were about to tour it. But like they were just so fucking cool. Like Jamie was just really cool, and Alison, and like they were just like they had this guitar sound. And I was just like, how does he make his guitar sound like that? And like a drum machine, and there was just something about them that was just like very different from like the music we'd grown up with in Sunderland playing with. They were really nice, but they were also just had this like an aura around them. I think like got on well. Um, but I remember a few things about that tour. I remember absolutely going down stinking in Cardiff, and Jamie coming on stage and them getting clapped. He's like, where the fuck were you guys for the Futureheads type of thing? And I was like, oh, like that's sound. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think the most important thing that happened on that tour for us, other than like playing like and hearing these guitar sounds and hearing these songs, and you know, Alison's got that kind of Patti Smith thing going on. Um, but their sound guy was Paul Epworth, and
Oh, right.
that's how we met him. So he ended up doing sound for us on that tour because we didn't have anyone. Um, and that's how we developed a friendship with him. And then obviously we were the first band that he ever produced fully, other than his own music. After that, he produced the bits of the first album, like 2/3 of it, and then went on to do Block Party, Maximo Park, and then obviously Adele and Conquer the World. But like we would never have met him if it hadn't been for that tour. So it's kind of important for us.
Ah, it's this. I didn't even realize he started like that, but it kind of makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, so he was doing sound at 93 Feet East in London, and like the Kills had come out of that place and knew him, so they took him on tour. And then, yeah, just got talking mainly about like Captain Beefheart and some of the kind of the more obscure music he was into, and just really got on.
Yeah, yeah. So how does he compare to like the other producers you work with? What kind of sets him apart, do you think?
So he's just got a really good energy. He's a very talented engineer as well. So sonically, he is for the mixing and whatnot like that. But he just created an environment where we felt very free and felt more confident in ourselves. We'd recorded with Andy Gill from the Gang of Four, and really enjoyed the kind of process and meeting Andy. But the recordings turned out not how we hoped. They sounded really quite dead, not very lively, a little bit staid, a little bit kind of just not as good as we'd hoped. And that was partly down to us, partly down to Andy. And then when Paul was just like, he had this live energy, he'd seen us play live a lot, obviously, because of that tour. He got a lot of the reference points we were trying to do, but also brought them into the kind of 21st century. And he got the best out of Barry and Ross as kind of like performance for the singing. And just like, he just knew things to do with guitars, or was experimenting things to do with guitars that could replace the kind of urgency and vibrancy of playing live. So Ross and Barry are both excellent on the guitar, and they would play these parts, and they'd be going on like this, and me and David would be doing our thing, and then all of a sudden you'd listen to it back, and you're going like, doesn't sound as good as it does in the room. You know what I mean? And Paul would be like, oh, we should put that like that guitar part should go through a little cigarette amp, and we should put that one through like a chorus amp from the 80s, like a Roland jazz chorus, and everyone's like, what? And then like you do it and put it together, and it's like, oh, it sounds like a record now. And that was just that was what he brought to it. That and this kind of like he was just very driven. You know, he was like Andy Gill had been like, turn up at 10, leave at 6, go for a meal. We were all on the dole, had no money. It was quite a grim experience. Whereas Paul was like, you know, start at midday, get some lunch, let's work until 3, 4 in the morning if we need to. Like it was just a bit more of a traditional recording session, you know, and he just knew what he was doing. He knew how to get the best out of us. He really encouraged me as well. I had a little bit of red light syndrome, and when I was playing bass, like the light would come on, and I was like a bit underconfident, and he would like, you know, there's that thing of like everyone needs man managing in a different way. Sometimes people need challenging. I needed someone at that point to put their arm around us and go like, you deserve to be in this band, you mate. Sounds really good when you lock in. And I needed that at 20, 22-year-old, you know, I did. So, and he did that for me.
Yeah, it does sound like when I like talking to people on here, like it's a bit of a football manager type role sometimes in terms of getting the best out of each person.
It's mad because you're in charge of the session, right? But people in bands are egomaniacs. They really are. Like they're whipped up to the point of like stardom, and then you go in and then they have to have the balls to be like, you know, you're not doing it like that. That won't sound very good. And we kind of gave ourselves to the process, to our credit. But Paul treated me very differently than how he treated Barry, and treated Barry very differently from how he treated Ross. And then likewise with Dave, because Dave, I mean, I feel for Dave in our band because he's Barry's brother. And like Barry writes like 70% of the songs or whatever, and like he drills them, like, and poor Dave's just like just gets so much stick. He's a resilient little fucker. Tell you that for now. He just keeps going. And Paul would kind of like temper that environment or push it when he needed to, and he really got the best out of Dave. So bands are funny things. They are like that thing with the football team. I remember, do you know Gary Bennett used to play for Sunderland?
Right, okay.
So he came in to primary school where I was working before, and he was talking at the time about David Moyes going to United and being like, oh, I know I do this amazing drill with like Phil Jagielka and Rio Ferdinand, being like, nah. Yeah. And whether that's true or not, do you know what I mean? But it's like, you know, like sometimes you've got to be bigger than the star players, or like have earned your stripes so that they're willing to. And I don't know enough about it to say whether that's absolutely true or not, but you can imagine the scenario, can't you? Do you know what I mean? Where like if you're not the big boss at a big club, it must be pretty tricky.
Yeah, yeah. Can
And I think,
like lose the dressing room on the first speech, can't you? That's what they
well,
say.
you absolutely you can, yeah, you know. But I remember turning up for our first session with Paul Epworth, and he had the Captain Beefheart records that we both the band loved, like Spotlight Kid and Clear Spot. He had them coming through the desk to try and match the mic sounds for the drum kit, and we were like, "This is going to be all right." This. And I remember us turning up at 10 o'clock with the gear up and driven down from Sunderland, and being like, "What time should we come back tomorrow?" He's like, "Let's just get started now, man." And we were like, "It's 10 o'clock at night." He was like, "Yeah." Get the drum set up, we'll get going, we'll get a few takes down tonight and see how the vibe is, type of thing. And well, that was exactly what we needed. Someone who was going to be like, nah, come on, you're going to get pushed and you're going to do your best because you're great. You need to like be like challenged, but also like bigged up at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. Yes. Well, I'm not sure I actually introduced that song, so let's do it now. Here's Pull You by the Kills. But yeah, talking about supporting bands, I think I mentioned to Ross about supporting Oasis.
Yeah.
Like, what memories do you have of that?
Well, that's one of them ones that like you get that call, right? I mean, I have to say, Oasis were the reason I started playing the guitar. Do you know what I mean? Like 95, I was 13-year-old. And like there was a point when I think Oasis had released like the third album where I knew how to play every Oasis song on the guitar, knew all the bass lines, knew all the backing vocals, everything. Like I was obsessed with that band when I was a kid. But by the time it got around to us actually being in the band, they weren't really a band that we really listened to. Um, because you just like we grew old with that band, but we didn't really listen to them. But then you get the call saying, "Do you want to do it?" We're like, yes, yes, I do, absolutely. Do you know what I mean? And we'd met Noel a couple of times because he was mates with that band, the Zootons.
Oh yeah.
So we toured with the Zootons a canny bit, and they were great guys. And he was like always backstage. He's always really nice. Um, as people tend to be when you just have to be like backstage type of thing, do you know what I mean? And then we got the call to do it, and it was like, yeah, but it was definitely one of them ones where I was like on the phone to all the lads I went to school with, like, just on guest list, we're playing Oasis in Hampden Park. Like, yeah, I'll drive up, cheese, mate. Do you know what I mean? And it's like kind of, I know it's funny, but it's a bit like a badge of honor, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like someone that you like idolize as a kid is like asked you to play. It's like it was great.
Yeah, especially when they're quite hands on with like who's supporting them and stuff, aren't they?
Yeah, you wouldn't get that gig unless you thought like that'd be all right. Do you know what I mean? We've done a few of those stadium supports. You know, we played with the Foo Fighters quite a bit. Bon Jovi, which is slightly less cool.
Wow.
But
Where was that?
we did Stadium of Light in Sunderland with Bon Jovi, and we did Hyde Park as well.
Oh, yes.
And then we done the Red Hot Chili Peppers at the Stadium of Light, and we done the Foo Fighters at a few of the. We did Wembley Stadium with the Foo Fighters. We did Hampden Park with Oasis, and that was like one of them ones. Like I remember like walking down the tunnel, and like Liam was walking up with his kid, and he just went like, "All right, boys." It was just like fucking Liam Gallagher. Do you know what I mean? It was pretty cool, like, I've got to say.
Yeah, yeah, yes. Did you manage to get a ticket to go see him or anything recently?
I didn't. Yeah, I know. I didn't get one. Did you go?
No, I refuse to get involved with that price, really. But
No,
yeah,
I kind of. Yeah, yeah. No, that's not my world. That like.
no, exactly. Yeah. All right, the next song might be a favorite one that you sent across that I hadn't heard before. Secret Machines. What can you tell us about this one?
So Secret Machines, again, they're not a band that I'm like massively, massively au fait with. However, this record, they were on the same label as us in this country. Okay, so they're an American band from I think they're from Dallas, but they lived in New York. And I think their label had like licensed it through 679 that we were on. And I remember like, you know, when you go to record companies, they basically give you like loads of music, you know, so they'll give you at the time it was all CDs, so they'll just give you like, oh, have you heard this, have you heard that? And so when we were signed to a subsidiary of Warner Brothers, you have these rooms and they'd just be like, oh, do you want these records? And you'd walk out with like 200 CDs in your arms, you know what I mean? It was great. And I remember getting the Secret Machine ones and Dan, our A&R guy, going like, give this a listen. And we were like, all right, yeah, we'll give it a listen, mate. Yeah, the New York bands. We've all heard the Strokes, mate. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we're British now. And I remember we were a bit pissed up and like we're in the van and we stuck it on. And this song's the first track on the record. And it just sounded massive. Like the drums were massive. And like we were just like looking at each other like, it's good, this is really good. And then I remember thinking like, oh, label's pretty cool as well. You know, like it's like we think we're good and this is good. The label's pretty cool. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously the Streets were on 679, but that wasn't really the same type of music as us, you know, and they had that kind of grime thing going on, like South London or whatever Dan was getting into later on. But yeah, the Mystery Jets were on our record as well, so we used to knock about with those guys a bit. But the Secret Machines, this song, I just remember thinking like it was huge for like indie rock. It was like it just sounded massive, and I loved it.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, well, let's play it then. Here's Nowhere Again by Secret Machines. And then next band, I'm right in thinking from the Northeast as well, this in Vegas.
So this in Vegas are like, yeah, really, really popular in the Northeast. Like, and did quite a bit in the kind of DIY scene. Know those guys really well. This song for me, it's like the best song from the era that never like got like national attention. They're a band that were like very much like kind of post-hardcore, angular guitars, high energy, great live shows, born out with that kind of DC sound. But then like with the Mac and Twist, Richard, the guitar player and like lead songwriter, is a great writer, very intense guy, like one of me, like a really good mate, but like he's very kind of like, do you know what I mean by that? Like let's do this, like let's get involved, you know. And they would like run nights in Sunderland. They actually put us on for our first ever gig. Everyone calls them TAV. They say in Vegas boys. This song, Ross from the band set up a label and released this song as a single.
Oh, okay.
So like he paid for these recordings and he really wanted them to do an album, and it just kind of never really happened. But for such a tough band, I actually think this song's like super emotional and like amazing, and like that kind of like dynamic between like being like really aggressive but actually like what they're singing about being quite emo in a way. I love it. There's a band from up here called the Lake Poets, Martin Longstaff, who did like the music for Sun Until I Die, and another like singer-songwriter. He's like acoustic, really, but he did a cover of this song as well, and like he's mates with them all. It's just like, for me, it's like nostalgic, but like looking back, it's like it was just so good coming back to Sunderland and being like, there was field music, there was like Maximo Park, there was like this in Vegas, there was like a band springing up every other week as well. It sounded a bit like someone else. Like, so this in Vegas basically like spearheaded their scene, and there was like 5 or 6 bands that sounded a bit like them. And we would like go out after being like away on tour and come back and be like, Sunderland's like just making like class music. Like there's always a gig on. everyone's helping each other out. Everyone's like slightly competitive, but also like banging into supporting each other. And I honestly think like short term, long term is like one of the best songs that people have never heard.
Okay, so let's play it then. Here's this St. Vegas with short term, long term. All right, nice one, mate. So reached halfway now, so I can try and introduce this load of questions we've got basically.
Oh,
Um, on Instagram, Frandler Bing says, "Can we bring back Split Festival, please?"
oh mate, I would love to. So Split Festival was the festival that the Futureheads helped run in Sunderland. Culminated with us having like Dizzy Rascal headlining. We had loads of we had Pill on. Beth
Wow.
Orton played. Like it was really eclectic and absolutely amazing to be part of. It was basically like financially unviable, and I think everyone just thinks that like oh they'll get bands to come and play for nout. It's like the cash flow you need for that. That was our money. We didn't have like big sponsors and stuff like that. The council helped us out a bit. We got a little bit from Arts Council and stuff like that, but that was our money. And when it rained on that last day and we didn't make any money on the bar, that was our money. We had to pay all our supplies out of our own pocket. So the festival just didn't. It wasn't viable. It was too stressful. Something we're very very proud of doing and love doing for Sunderland and with Sunderland. Ross runs his own festival now, though, on the seafront. It's like a free one that he gets complete funding for, so it's like stressful, but like less stressful. Called Summer Streets. But yeah, like the Split Festival was great. I do remember at the time, so that must have been, I can't even remember now, 2008, 9, 10, something like that. We did 3 or 4. I remember back in the days when I was like on Facebook, someone put a thing on complaining that there was no gangster rap on the lineup. And me being a bit like, how would I know? Like, how would we know how to book gangster rap in Sunderland? Like, where would we go for that? Do you know what I mean? We're like an indie rock punk band. Do you know what I mean? We've got like Public Image Limited headlining, and who do you want? Do you know what I mean? Like up and coming gangster rap. It's not gonna happen, mate. Do you know what I mean? Like start your own festival. I just think it's
Did you
like
reply all this to him or what?
just kind of laughed at it. It's one of them things, isn't it? Everyone wants it for now.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there was the Radio One big weekend was in Sunderland roughly the same time a few
Yeah, I
years
went to that,
before.
yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then also there was like a Six Music Festival on the quayside in Newcastle, and everyone was a bit like, "Oh, so they're free?" It's like, yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
all those bands play for free to get on the radio. We have to pay them X amount of money to come to Sunderland, and probably a bit more than they normally do because it's and then because it was like a small festival, I was just like boring minutiae of it, but we had to pay everyone up front because otherwise they
Right.
wouldn't come. And like, you're forking out
That's a lot of money, isn't it?
lots of money to pay people up front, including VAT, that you then like trying to claim back from ticket sales and beer sales after the fact. I nearly had a heart attack. It was just it was so stressful.
Yeah, it sounds it,
Um,
definitely, yeah.
so yeah, no Split Festival for the foreseeable, unfortunately.
Fair play. Was it like all in one place or was it like a venue to venue thing?
Yeah, no, it was all in one place. So we did one. It started off because the Futureheads did like a fundraiser for the local cricket club. So I play cricket, and like a few like the guy from Richard from this in Vegas, his dad was on the board, and basically the cricket club was struggling. They were like, "Can the Futureheads help us out? Do a gig? We'll make the bar money, you take the door money," type of thing. And we were like, "Yeah, we'll just help you out." It was where we did our first gig. We didn't even take the door money, I don't think. So it was like just like did a gig in Sunderland. And like that kind of got them out of like their financial hole. And then the next year we were like, hang on a minute, they made loads of money on that gig. We could have done that. So we turned it into like a day festival. And then the year after it grew into like having a tent on the field and like being like a split stage, which is where we got Split Festival from. And the year after that was in Mowbray Park in Sunderland, like right in the middle of town. That's the one that Dizzy Rascal paid. But I'm talking about like, like massive, like proper like 30, 40, 50,000 like capacity possibilities. We didn't sell that many tickets, but it was huge. Yeah, it just didn't work out.
Ah, fair play. Yeah, looking back at that one big weekend one, the lineup is mad.
Yeah,
Like,
I've not actually looked back now.
it's
Um,
crazy.
did Madonna play that?
I'm not sure about that year, but there's like it's just like a who's who of indie that day.
Yeah.
Like Interpol, you
Mm.
guys. I think the Bravery played.
The bravery.
I'm gonna look it up now because I might have to cut this out. But
Class.
uh,
Was that 2005?
yeah, yeah.
So
Because
that was the
we,
year that was the year that Sunderland went up because we went and played in the centre circle of the Stadium of Light as well. So
okay,
we played decent days and nights in the meantime in the centre circle of the Sunderland match, and then we
right.
came back to do our set. It was crazy.
That's it. Yeah, like so looking at the subways, Magic Numbers, Futureheads, The Bravery, Maximo Park, Lamar, Kaiser Chiefs, Jamiroquai, Interpol, Gwen Stefani,
Oh, Gwen
Black
Stefani, not Madonna.
Black Eyed Peas, Basement Jacks, and that's just on one day. Then the other day is like Foo Fighters, Kasabian, Natalie Imbruglia, Chemical Brothers. Not bad for free.
That's crazy, isn't it? You just imagine Will I Am kicking about. I wonder if he went to the upstairs night in Independent that night. Do you know what I mean? Will I Am just kicking about the town.
Well, did you interact much with Johnny Rotten then when you booked him?
Well, not really. He pissed in the bin and I had to clean it out, which is a bit annoying because I was in
Jesus.
charge of artist liaison. Um, no, I mean, he was just like playing a character really almost, which is what he does. They were class though. You know, they really were. They were absolutely class.
Yeah.
So yeah, they had some really strange demands, like they demanded their own toilet and stuff like that. But it
What
was
they
a
didn't
bit,
use.
yeah, and then pissed in the bin in his dressing room instead. Cheers, mate.
It's punk for you, isn't
Yeah.
it? All right, next question. Jess hates chess. Says, how did you guys all originally meet? But I was listening back to the one with Ross. You said it was at some kind of youth club or something.
Yeah, that's right. So, well, Barry and David brothers, obviously, so they met earlier than that. Ross and I did our A levels together, and me and Ross were in a band, and we had you could rehearse for free at this youth project on a Saturday morning. So we went down. And when we got there, it wasn't really like rehearsal rooms. It was in a rehearsal room, but they were like all the young people. We were probably 17, 18, yeah, and we would have been 17 and there was like 14-year-olds there and they were writing songs together like don't take drugs, smoking kills, use a condom, like struggling with like writing songs about their mum and dad getting divorced. And it was like just a youth project whereby basically Dave Murray, who ran it, just loved music, so he'd organised to have it at the bunker. But we met there. Barry Hyde, who was obviously teaching guitar, even though he's one of the year older than us. Peter Brewis and Dave Brewis from Field Music were both running it as well. So they were the two youth workers, and Barry was helping run it. And then loads of other bands from Sunderland. Ian Black, who's in Slug. Um, yeah, like loads of bands from Sunderland would like go there. It was just like a really like nice place. Really, everyone was just hanging out, playing guitar, like really quite badly and like learning. It was great.
Yeah, yeah. Was that where you rehearsed most of the time then, early on?
Yeah, we did rehearse at the bunker quite a bit early on, and then the Futureheads actually Barry had like a garage, and we used to rehearse like Le Garage. We used to rehearse in Barry's garage. We soundproofed it out and kind of like put all these acoustic tiles on, thinking it would stop the noise, and then just like realized that actually like 4 millimeter tiles on an old wooden garage is not going to do anything. Just like probably just drove the neighbours mad. I remember being like, I used to be a labourer and drive like a transit van type thing, making cement, bricklaying, things like that. And I would turn up like I'd like nick off in the middle of the day and turn up for Futureheads practice in like paint covered like clothes and that. You know what I mean? I'd be like, right lads, here we go, like lash out of half-hour set, and then like go back to work and stuff like that.
Yes. Um, the Erd, the Oudmon on Instagram. Got a few kind of clever question. Well, like people trying to be clever, but did he work it out? And if so, what did he find?
I mean that's one for Barry really. He talks about that. He talks about that song quite a lot, though the lyrics, because when we toured with Franz Ferdinand, clan name drop, but like when Paul the drummer remember coming up and going, "That song that you wrote, Decent Days and Nights, it doesn't make any fucking sense." He's like, "This is a brand new problem. The problem without any clues. If you know the clues." And it's like, how do you know them if there aren't any? It's like, oh yeah, well yeah, that was one of them ones that like started as a riff. That song, he used to play it in sound check. I think he wrote it for another of our songs called He Knows. And he like ended up changing the song. And then we put that together. He put that together with Paul Epworth really in the studio. It was one of the last ones recorded for the album Decent Days and Nights. So the lyrics were kind of like they were quite immediate. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Barry would ever say he's ever worked it out.
Fair. Yeah, what's it been like in terms of songwriting? It's always been. a similar process, or has it changed over the years?
No, it's always different, and it's different every time. So Barry and Ross write the songs, really. I've written a few, mainly B-sides. The, it depends. Sometimes they come in with riffs and we work them out as a band. Most of the time they'll come in with like verse and a chorus or a verse and a riff. Do you know what I mean? And be like, where should this go? When we were like, so obviously we're still a touring concern now, but when we were writing records, we used to practice every day, kind of like 3 or 4 hours a day. They'd come in with less of an idea and kind of sketch it out together. But like these days, when we've got jobs as well, it tends to be that they'll come in with like a pretty much fully formed song and be like, let's do this, and then it'll change and like absorb that band dynamics. You know, I don't think I'd want to have ever done a band whereby I didn't think I could say like, do you not think it should go here? Do you know what I mean? And like that's always been a thing. But Barry and Ross are very much not afraid to go like, nah, I shouldn't do that. So kind of if you write the song, you get to say what it sounds like, but at the same time, there's 4 songwriters in the band. We all do our bit. I mean, you know, Dave, the drummer, his unique style of drumming, like kind of shapes the band as much as anything, really. Do you know what I mean? Um, like the way it's worked over the time is Barry's probably written like 60, 70% of the songs. Ross has written 35, and the rest, and like as a band, we've written the rest.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get that vibe from chatting to people. Like you've almost got to like just stumble across the right dynamic for things to work, kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's got to be different for all bands. It's got to be different for the band at that time. You know, when we decided we were going to get back together for Powers, you know, we had to have a discussion about who was going to be doing what because everyone had jobs and families. So like we can't be like just like, oh well, we'll just turn up and see what happens for 90 minutes. And in practice you have to turn up and be like, did you listen to that recording I sent you? Did you look at that chord sequence? What did you think? You know, it had to be a bit more like that. But in the early days, we just used to be together all the time. So it was just like, all right, Jaff, go like E, D, C sharp 3 times in a row and then play A, see what happens. Dave, just lay 4 to the floor and then like I've got this. You know what I mean? And like and then we'll just see what happens from that. So it just depends on the timing really.
Yeah, yeah. Girl in Dublin says, "Are you going to play an island soon?"
I would love to get them offers in, you know. It's literally just that thing of like get like if we get a gig, we'd love to do it. So we only have three criteria for doing a gig. Will it be a laugh, first and foremost? Will it be like super stressful for anyone in the band? And will it like not lose money? They're the only 3 things we worry about. And if 2 of those criteria are met, we'll do it. So like if I'm not bothered about it making money, but like if it's going to be a laugh and not be stressful, we'll probably do it. You know what I mean? It's one of them ones. So, but just as soon as you factor in flights and ferries and whatnot like that, it becomes a bit harder. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I love playing an island. Like, love it.
Not bad it says, yeah. And then Oliver the Dweeb, he says he's asking about who writes the most music and lyrics, but I think we've discussed that.
Covered
But he
that.
says, who's the best singer? But I mean, when I listened to the conversation with Ross, he said like initially he didn't want there to be a lead singer. Is that right?
Yeah. No, he didn't. He didn't want to be. It was funny. I mean, I think Barry's. You would say you'd say Barry is the
Yeah,
lead singer of the band. He's got a really strong voice, and because if you write the lyrics, you tend to like know how you want them delivered. So everyone else is like trying to almost like do an impression of you after a bit. So we tried a little bit on the 3rd record of like Ross writing some songs and Barry singing them as well. But these days we've just gone back to like if you write a song, you sing it. Um, yeah, I don't really think we think about it of like who's the best singer because none of us are exactly Celine Dion, are they? Do you know what I mean? It's like you've got to have a bit of a different approach when you're in a guitar band. I think it's more about the delivery and like instead of explaining to someone how you want something doing, just get up and give it a go. But we
yeah, yeah.
all we all do different things, you know, like our voices are really set the way they are. So Ross has got quite a deep voice. Barry's is in the middle. Mine sits above theirs, and then Dave tends to do like the really high bits or the really low bits, and like that's how we've developed that 4-part thing, just our natural ranges. Um, but then once we started doing that, your voice becomes more attuned to doing that now. So whenever Barry brings a song in, I automatically like do that sting thing of like, what's a third above that? Do you know what I mean? Like in your head straight away, you're thinking like, what's? And when we just recorded a Christmas album, um, and it was really strange because we're doing loads of covers, and even the ones we wrote ourselves, like it kind of worked a bit differently, like the way our voices were. And I did loads of harmonies like below the lead vocal, and it was really quite strange for me. There's lots less stress on my voice, like I've got to say, rather than shout my head off at a high G. But yeah, no, it just depends over time. I think we've all changed. But yeah, Barry and us do the singing really though.
Yeah. Okay, and then Righty 894. How much pressure was there on the band to succeed on the second album from the label?
It's a funny one, isn't it? What like pressure? Like when you think about what pressure might mean, like where it might come from. I don't know.
Did
We
he
had
set
quite
targets or anything like? I don't know.
no, we put quite a bit of pressure on ourselves. I mean, obviously we were like after Hounds and like we were like a much bigger band than we thought we'd ever be. Because like we considered ourselves to be like left field or whatever. We had like all these influences that were like not really popular. But then, you know, we're on CD UK, we're on, you know, we did Top of the Pops with Skip to the End on the second album. I think the label wanted more than they ever told us. But I also think that our management, who were really strong at the time, kept us quite well insulated from any kind of fears and demands from the label. And I think we kind of naively or artistically or a bit of both just decided we were going to do exactly what we wanted and not really have any pressure other than the fact that we wanted to make what we considered to be a great record. We definitely didn't think about radio at all. And then I remember getting to the end of the recording process, which was only 5 weeks. So you need to remember we came off the road in July, and I think we had like 2 or 3 weeks off, and we were recording October, November, and it was finished by Christmas. I remember thinking like ringing the lads. We'd all gone home with the rough mixes and said like, we're going to meet at Barry's house next week. Have a think about what you think the singles should be. And we each turned up with 3 different choices for what we thought the singles should be. So that basically like the whole record was covered and no one agreed. Because we just never thought about singles. We just thought about writing songs. We never thought like that. And I remember our manager at the time going like, oh, well, you two only go in the studio when they when they know what the single's going to be. It's like, well, we don't. Do you know what I mean? We hit you too. And I've never really thought about music like that. We always just thought that the single would be the one that came out and would be the most radio friendly or like the most catchy. But we never thought about like putting another chorus in something. You know what I mean? Like we never really worked like that. And maybe it's to our detriment. Maybe it's to our kind of that's the legacy of the band in a way. It was that kind of like that's how we did it. That the snapshot at that time was that that's how we wanted to make that record. I don't really regret it, even though at the time obviously we ended up getting dropped and starting our own label after news and tributes. So obviously, even though they might not have made us feel any pressure, there was pressure there. But like, so what, man? That record's out there. Do you know what I mean? And it's like I'm super proud of it, really proud of it. It's got some absolutely like amazing moments on and like really flows as an album. So tough. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, definitely. But I mean, yeah, like you mentioned going onto your own label, that's quite early days for a band of your size to do that. Don't know how did that pan out kind of thing, yeah.
It was one of those. We had like we've had the same manager since we've been kids, right? We've only ever had one manager. Well, there was a managing duo, big life manager, Jazz Summers and Tim Parry, and Jazz passed away. So we still work with Tim, which like they were like really famous in that world, you know, they'd done Wham, they did the Verve for Urban Hymns, they still do Badly Drawn Boy. And like they were a little because they were older and not really like kind of like those cool kind of East London managers who'd like take you on, take you there and drop you, you know what I mean? It was like they like kind of insulated us from the music industry a little bit, maybe too much. And when Warner Brothers dropped us, like Jazz sat us down in this hotel in London, and he was like, "It's fucking great, fucking great, guys. You still, they've dropped you. We've got you back." And it was just like, okay, this is a positive thing. And like straight away, he was like, "I'll put the money in. You put the music in. We'll do it ourselves." And it was like, all right, you know. And it was just like this like breath of fresh air, this positivity. He really believed in the band. Everyone we've worked with always really believed in the band, and we kind of just made it work. So we set up this label to do what ended up being the third album. This Is Not the World, We worked with one of Big Life's producers, Youth, who was in Kill and Joke, which was like a massive thing for us, but also he produced like urban hymns. We went to his villa in Spain to record it. Like, it was really otherworldly. I mean, you talk about this is not the world. Like,
Yeah, did he produce Paul McCartney or something as well?
yeah, he was in a
Yeah.
band with Paul McCartney,
Ah, okay,
Fireman.
right.
I mean, Youth, you know, mad as a box of frogs. Like, he's wild, but he's very talented at what he does. He's very talented, and working with him was very challenging because we worked with Paul Epworth for the first album, who I've spoken about in depth. Then Ben Hillier on the second album, producer, was very much an engineer, sonics, getting things right, different guitars recorded in the greenhouse, record drums in the barn, like doing all this stuff around the farm, using all the different rooms, using these expensive mics, turning speakers into mics, loads of different guitars. And then we got there with Youth. And you got the impression that if he could have got it done in one day, he'd have been like, "Yeah, this is better." It's like you would see like the recording aspect as like almost a chore. So like we turned up to work with Youth with like 8 songs written, and we ended up recording for 15 days and recording 22 songs. And I remember like I was the only person in the band who could drive at that time, so we flew to Malaga, and I had to hire a car and drive us to like near Granada. And then, like, we'd stay in this like very basic bed and breakfast called Los Naranjos on like an Orange Grove, which is looking back kind of amazing. You get up in the morning, have your coffee, have your like tostada con marmalada, and like the guy there he didn't speak any English. He was proper sound. He was just like cafe negro and tostada was all he ever said to us. And like we'd drive up to Youth's place, show the song that we wanted to record that day. Played through a few times. He'd be like, "What about this? What about that?" Very, very confrontational to the point of like being, "You don't need that middle 8." Like beginning of the twist had a middle 8, which was my favorite bit. And he was just like, "Take that out. It sounds wanky. Don't need it." And we were like, "What?" We were like, "No, we're doing our own label. We'll do what we want." He's like, "That bit's got to go. It's shit." And I was like, "That's the best bit." He was like, "Fucking get rid of it." Type of thing, you know what I mean? He was very confrontational. It was actually like awkward quite a lot of the time. But we kind of gave ourselves to that process as well. Do you know what I mean? And it worked out for some songs really well and for some songs less well. So, for instance, he wouldn't let us practice our backing vocals before we went in to record them. He was
All right.
Jaff, just go in. I was like, "Well, I don't know what I'm singing yet." He was like, see what comes into your head." So then, like, you'd be hearing a song that you'd only like played through for like 2 hours on the morning, and you'd only just heard the lyrics to, and you'd be like trying to write vocals. Whereas for News and Tributes on the second record, we'd record the music, then we'd all get around the piano or around the guitar and be like, "I'll sing that, you sing that," and like work it out. So This Is Not the World, it was just a lot more immediate. And absolutely crazy because he's a wild guy. Youth. He would just I remember him like, and then he would like basically do a chop and bring it all together, would do the vocals, and then he would just lie down on the sofa and you weren't sure if he was asleep or awake. And then every now and then he'd just like kind of wave at you to like, "Jaff, you go in now, man." You know? But yeah, crazy times.
Yeah. Did you manage to rescue that middle 8 for another song or anything?
No,
All right.
no, it's gone. It's gone in the ether. Sometimes we play it in sound check and just think like, "It's good that bit, like." But that's crazy, isn't it? In a way, we would never have done that before. But he was right, Youth. The song didn't need that. It didn't need it. The problem with Youth's approach is that it works really well for singles, but for the album tracks that weren't going to be singles, we should have stuck to our guns a little bit more and been a bit like, "Oh, we want this to be a bit more interesting, and we want a little change in here." But he was like, "Every song's got to be ready for Radio One," and we
All
just
right.
never really thought like that. So we kind of got into it a bit, and like really, I love bits of the album. But it's the record that like I never really listened to that album because it's just like I'm not really sure it's 100% us. It's a little bit. It's been A&R'd a little bit maybe, and I don't know. I don't know if the other lads would agree with that actually. I don't know. It's a funny one. It's a great snapshot of where we're at with like starting our own label, going to Spain, get it done really quick, work with this like very talented madman. And obviously we got Beginning the Twist out of it, which is one of our most famous songs and one of the songs that I'm most proud of. I think the lyrics Barry wrote for it are probably some of the best lyrics he's written. Sunderland run out to it. You know, it's like it's a huge thing in Sunderland in the northeast. I've got a little 9-year-old boy. He like runs around the house singing it because he loves the lads. You know, it's
That's
really quite.
amazing. Yeah.
It's really cute. On his it was his birthday last week, and he got full kit, full kit. And for the Everton game the other day, he was just running around the house, just singing "Begin of the Twist" in his full kit, shinnies on. Great, absolutely class. Go on, Sam, love it.
That's unreal. Yeah. Was another big thing? Someone was talking to Ross, like leaving the record label, that you got the rights back to your music as well. Is
Yeah,
that
so
right?
well, they didn't. What we have now, it's a it's a funny one. I think Warner's won some of them. We got all the publishing. I think we no, I don't think we do own them.
Ah, right.
We tried to get them, but we don't own them. Yeah, I
It's
think
just
we
mad
might.
talking.
I think it's 18 years or something like that. We got it down from 50.
Ah, right.
I think we did like there's something that sticks in my mind about that, but I don't think we do own them. He'll correct us. Like he'll message on Instagram going, "Jaff to know what he's talking about."
No, it's just mad talking to bands where they're like they can't do any kind of re-release if they want it. They can't.
Yeah.
They don't even know where to start, type thing. Yeah.
So we did greatest hits last year and greatest hits singles collection, and we've been talking about whether we do it or not because we very much like don't consider ourselves to be done. Do you know what I mean? Like, so we were like, well, we don't want to put out this out there. It's like kind of like we're done now. But as we were talking about whether, like, literally, we met up at the pub and had a few beers, and like as we were talking about whether we were going to do this singles collection or not, we got an email from our management saying Cherry Red Records have bought your back catalogue from Warner Brothers and they're putting out a box set of all your stuff.
Wow.
We're like, what? And then they were like, well, instead of doing that on CD, do you want to ask them if they want to do a singles collection? And we'll like give them all the songs that we own off Null Records. And then that's how that came. It was like mad, like synergy. It was literally half an hour after we started talking about it, we got this email. We all looking at our phones, going, "Are you reading this?" It was crazy. So it just felt like the right thing to do because we were like that thing of like we're proud of the singles. We don't want to be a singles band. We want to go on another tour. It's a great reason. We haven't got time to get another album together at the minute. You know, we want to keep doing festivals. It seemed like a really good idea, but also we don't want to be like, oh, well, they're done now. And I think people have got the idea that we're still like going strong. Do you know what I mean? It's just that we've, you know, put all those songs together in one release type of thing.
Yeah, yeah. So is it better for you when they buy that collection, like you does rights? Then does that work out better than being on Warner's or what?
I don't really think it matters. I don't think it
Okay.
matters at all. I just, you know, we just want to be able to release them if we want. You know, like you never make any money off like Spotify and stuff like that. Anyways, it was really mine
Yeah,
who
yeah.
owns them. Um, it's one of them things. Like you know, that, we've witnessed the music industry change before our eyes, almost like no other band really did, because I mean, the lads will probably kill us for telling you this, but when we started, right, it was all physical copies, right? So we would do like three CD singles of decent days and nights, and have to write B-sides and have remixes on there, which was a big thing. And I put the video on one, and you sell 3 copies, you get 3 for the chart. And when Decent Days and Nights came round, when Begin of the Twist came round, it was on our own label. We got loads and loads and loads of CD singles pressed up. They're all in my mum's garage, Ross's dad's garage, now because everyone just went, boom, well, we're just going to download these instead. And like that hadn't been a thing before. We just didn't realize that the music industry was going to definitely do that. So we've got like, I reckon we've still got 20,000 CD singles of Begin of the Twist somewhere. And I think we like sold 20,000 in the first week. So it's like you've got all these copies that so if anyone wants a copy of either version of Begin of the Twist, you know where to come.
Yeah, yeah. Get them out on top.
Yeah,
I know what you
exactly. Yeah.
mean. I think Nick Hodgson called it 50 quid man. He said it used to be used to be known as 50 quid man, a guy that would like spend that much on CDs a month, when he used to be in supermarkets and everything. And they kind of disappeared overnight.
You remember that like I used to be like buzzing when HMV would have a 3 for 45 quid sale on.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? You pay like 15 quid instead, or like 3 for 40 instead of 3 for 50 quid. It's crazy. We've just done this Christmas album. We were all laughing at Barry because Barry's insisted on having CDs pressed. We've done like a limited run of some vinyls, and Barry's insisted on there being some CDs for people to buy. It's like I haven't even got anything to play that on, Baz, to check if it's got the right songs on.
Well, people do tapes now, don't they? A lot of that
Yeah, well,
going on.
tape's a little bit cooler almost, isn't it? CDs. Who buys CDs? People do, I guess.
Well,
People do.
I have a load in the car to be fair, because I've got a
Yeah,
CD player. But yeah,
I haven't got a CD player in my car anymore, I don't think.
no, well, I have a Fiat Panda, so that's why.
Love it.
Right, couple. I missed a couple of these questions. One sec. Um, Wilson J says, not a question, just an apology for constantly throwing a box of Jaffa cakes at him on stage. Does that
Like
happen? Yeah.
Jeff, I like Jaffa cakes, that's fine, you know. Um,
Where's the nickname come from? Out of interest.
um, it's actually really boring. It's just like from primary school, I used to get called Dav. My name's David.
Yeah.
Dav, and then Jav, and then Javi, and then Jaff. Jaffa. But it's funny because I played cricket all the way through. Well, I still play now, but I played cricket all the way through. And in cricket, like a Jaffa is like an unplayable ball. So like
Yeah.
it kind of like stuck with all my cricket mates because of that. I went to a new cricket club last year, and I was like, "All right, lads, I'm David." They were like, "All right, Jaff." Do you know what I mean? Like, but it's funny now because half my life calls as David, and half my life calls as Jaff. Whereas before, like even in like 5 years ago, it'd be like 95% of people, only my mom and brother and sister would call us David. But now lots of people do.
Ah, fair. Then got T-side guitar tech.
Oh God, Pete. Here we go.
Just says when are we heading back to Nuneaton?
Oh man. I'm not sure. I'm not sure the world's ready for the Nuneaton story,
Okay,
but it kind of is like probably the greatest thing that's ever happened to me as an individual or in the band. So maybe now is the time to tell everyone about Nuneaton.
excellent.
So we did a tour funded by someone for COVID, like kind of for venues for COVID. Remember that? Like when we were coming out of COVID restrictions, there was
Right.
like people would give promoters money to put bands on to get people back in rooms.
Mm.
So we did. We jumped at the opportunity. We were ready to go on tour, and we went to Nuneaton to play this working men's club. You know, like because like I said, it will do out if it's like going to be a laugh. And why not? You know what I mean? So we were on this tour, and this guy asked us if we're playing Nuneaton. It was like a sex dungeon. Well, that's the only way I can really describe it. There'll be other people who bands who'll have played this room, but like the the Workmen's Club itself had Europe's largest collection of pinball machines in it. He was
Right.
like this weird guy that owned it. He was really nice. But like upstairs was like his living quarters, and there was some very private stuff just like lying around. And I was like, why are we in your bedroom as a dressing room? Why aren't we using your living room where these things aren't here? It was there was a lot of leather. It was very off-putting, and I can't really say any more than that, other than the fact that the gig was really good and everyone had a right laugh. But I shall never return to Nuneaton.
Yes. Indie Music on Twitter says, did Barry ever tell you about the time he played the canal side in Falkirk? It's quite a
No,
specific one.
no, but Barry did live in Scotland for a while,
Okay.
so presumably it was up there. No, he hasn't. In Falkirk, I shall ask him about that next time I see him.
Right, and then the last few that came via the Futureheads Instagram. Um, what was playing in Manumission at Ibiza Rocks like?
Oh, you know what, right? That's one of them experiences that you never think you're going to get to do. We played a Manumission with Faithless. It was like,
Yes.
these two bands don't really go together. It was absolutely class, brilliant. And we went out there and stayed in like a villa for the weekend, and like the whole place was like transformed by like people who wouldn't like music like ours. You know, it was great. It wasn't like being in Ibiza really. I've never been to Ibiza other than that, but we did it twice. It was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, here's the thing for a while, wasn't it, Ibiza
Yeah,
Rocks?
yeah, it's
Must be
class.
this when you get that booking, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, do you want to do this? It's like, yes, yes, I do. Want to go to Ibiza and play music? Thanks, absolutely class.
Yeah, yeah, quality. Other than bass lines, I'll just say that there's no usernames attached to these, by the way. Other than bass lines, does he write any of the rest of the material? I think we've kind of covered that, really. That you bring ideas in, but yeah.
Yeah, I wrote a song on the last record on Powers called "Idle Hands." I've written 4 or 5 of the B-sides. I wrote a B-side about Agent Cooper from Twin Peaks, which is that's my favorite moment. I like to write songs about certain things. So like Wrote one about Bobby Fischer, the chess player. Wrote one about Agent Cooper in Twin Peaks. And then Idle Hands is about like kind of that, it was that Danny Dyer quote about David Cameron being in Italy or wherever with his trotters up after Brexit. Really made us laugh. And I was writing a few riffs for that one. So yeah, more and more these days. But yeah, mainly Barry and Ross.
Yeah, it says like harmonies and lyrics, but this harmonies a bit different. I don't know.
Yeah, harmonies. We write all our own harmonies and work together and write other people's. So it doesn't really work like that. We just think like, what does the song need? You know
Mm.
what I mean? Yeah, it depends. Sometimes I've definitely been on tracks where we've recorded like a whole thing of backing vocals, then gone at the end like this is too much, lads. You know what I mean? And then other times I've gone in and been like, me and Dave might go in and just do one line, and it'd be like that's just like save that section. It can make or break a song, or it can spoil a song harmony. So you'll be quite tactful with it. And I think we're getting better at singing them and understanding our voices a bit.
Yeah. Ask him about touring with Linkin Park.
That was who's put that? Um,
Let's
every
say
every
nameless.
every man in their life has a lowest moment, and I think mine personal lowest moment was touring with Linkin Park in freezing cold Germany in winter, having just broken up with my fiance, not having a record label, and my dad had died quite recently, and just thinking like I had like an existentialist crisis on that tour. I was like, what are we doing here? Like playing like 30,000 people and there's like 250 watching us. Like, I just wanted to go home. I just really wanted to go home for the whole thing. It was horrible. Ended up doing a push-up challenge where we could try and like learn to do 100 push-ups in a row just to give us something to do on that tour. Didn't work. Couldn't do them. But yeah, it was pretty bleak, that tour.
Was it like a full European tour then or something? Or just Germany?
It was about 2 weeks. Two
Ah,
weeks of
okay.
2 weeks of stadia.
Oh, wow. Must have seen some cool stadiums though.
Probably all look the same from the inside. It was just, like we've done so many amazing things with the band.
Yeah.
That was just, I was like personally in a very bad place when we did that. And most of it through my own doing, I might add. And just, yeah, didn't enjoy it.
Nah, fair play. Um, no idea what this means, but what does Balsh mean?
I mean, you'd have to ask Barry. So Balsh is one of our B-side of very early days.
Ah, okay, right.
Um, really, really fast 30-second song. It's probably a German term. He was obsessed with German back then. God knows what it means. He also used to like making words up, so it might just well be made up.
Fair enough. Ah, and then last one, does he drive Arteon?
I do drive an Arteon. That's a bit weird. Who's this? Who's this stalking? It's a bit strange. Yeah. Yes, I do own a VW Arteon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, someone got to put me windows out now, is it? Seen it parked on the street.
I suppose I could ask you about like the lifestyle of being in a noughties band, like a lot of excess maybe. Did you manage to like stay on the right side of that for most of it?
I would say so as a band. I mean, Ross didn't drink at all for the first incarnation of the band. I did drink. Barry and Dave were a bit more party animal-y, I would say. It was just it was just something that didn't really interest us. That like we seemed to be so wary of. Sometimes maybe I look back and think I was so wary of being a cliche that I didn't actually enjoy it as much as I could have done. But then like I did like I drank and like went after shows and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But we all had girlfriends and like it got to the point of being like quite samey that world. Do you know what I mean? I'm really glad that none of us really got into like class A drugs. Like it just becomes a bit tragic. And like
Hmm.
I'm perfectly capable of being tragic on my own. I don't need I don't need class A drugs to help me with that. So we in general we stayed away from it without making it sound like too boring. I've always thought we've been like a pretty good laugh to be on tour with people. But yeah, none of that.
Nah, yeah, fair. No, I heard Paul of Maximo Park saying recently he can't really identify with this idea of indie sleaze. You similar?
All can't. Yeah. Yeah. No. No. Yeah. I don't either really. It's not. It's not really us. Do you
Yeah,
know what
it's
I mean? It
just
just seems a bit like, I don't know, it just seems a bit crap.
it's just like a bit of a lazy catch-all, isn't it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't
And also
really.
like there was a time in like the early noughties, wasn't there, when like Heat magazine and NME was a bit like that, you know what I mean? And there was like Queens of Noise and Razorlight and the Libertines. And it just didn't really seem to be very much about the music. And that's absolutely fine. That's a cliche in itself, but like we were kind of like removed from that because of geography. And like if we'd come home to Sunderland and been like that, everyone would have been like, "What are you doing?" Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Nah, fair play, mate. Yeah. Then if we go back into the songs,
Hmm.
the aforementioned Maximo Park with
Yeah,
Going Missing.
so Max Park, it's funny, I was talking about them the other night with field music, and we were talking a little bit about like this era. And I think a lot of people think that we're like rivals with Maximo Park because they've Newcastle and we from Sunderland, Paulson Borough. But like, I know we definitely don't, and I'm 99% sure that they don't really see it like that. And they don't think like that. Like, it's never really been like that. And I would say that like I think I've picked Going Missing. I just think it's a great record. It was really funny because they supported us on tour in 2004, right? And then we got on really well. And then they obviously like did really well themselves, and they ended up using Paul Epworth as well. And you can definitely spot lots of the tricks that he used with us on their record, but they're not ours. You know what I mean? Like they're like just production techniques, or they're like a little guitar amp idea. Like them songs, like Max Park's songs are great. I really like the more modern stuff that they do, that where Paul writes a lot of the lyrics. I think he's a very arty guy. I think he's an excellent lyricist. He's a brilliant performer. Duncan's a really good guitar player. Tom, the drummer, he's played with field music before. He's a great lad. He's an excellent drummer. And Lucas was great on the keys, and they're a great band. And I don't know, like I really hope that people don't think that there's any kind of animosity between the two bands because we get on really well. You know, there's been hope of us playing together more recently, but like just with jobs and work and families and stuff, it hasn't worked out. But this song is just absolutely great. I think Paul's vocal performance is excellent.
No, it's probably, I think this and Graffiti are probably my favourite
Mm.
Maximo Park songs. But yeah, let's play it. Here's Maximo Park with Going Missing. But yeah, that would be a great gig to see if you guys did some gigs now.
Yeah, it's one of them things where you never rule anything out. Do you know what I mean? Never ever. So,
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go see them play with Art Brute in the new year.
all right, well,
I
there
think
you
they're
go.
touring
That's
together.
yeah. Nicely wanted.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, speaking of all that NME culture, like imagine when I was looking at all covers the other day, and you definitely had at least one cover or two. Did you have a good relationship with them on the whole, NME?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say so. I think this source has been a bit boring because of that lack of excess thing that we just talked about. But I think they wrote very favourably about us. We were popular with a couple of the journalists there, James McMahon, who was a dear friend of ours who passed away a couple of years ago. Um, he wrote about us a lot. Um, loads of them wrote about us a lot. I think they were fond of us. It was great for us to be in that magazine. We did one cover. We did the shoot for it in LA, which is not very Futureheads, but we did it. It's crazy. I remember like I'm squinting on the front cover and like the angle's horrible and like Barry looks really good. I was really annoyed. So my mum's got it framed. I'm just like, I look horrible. Um, I think the enemy were very good to us. I really do. Um, they would always like. It's probably true of all bands, but they'd be like they build you up, and then they just stick a little knife in or somewhere, just somewhere, just to be like knock you a bit. It's like we never got a 9, we'd always get an 8. Or we never got a 10, we'd get a 9. Do you know what I mean? It was one of them ones that at the time was a bit like you couldn't just be nice. But I know they gave Hounds of Love Single of the Year. Remember they used to run that thing, the Cool List.
Oh yeah,
So Ross was in that one year, and I was in it the following year, and I still like to take the piss out of Barry that he was never in it.
yeah. Yes. What were you doing in LA? Were you playing over there?
Yeah, I think we were playing. Oh, maybe he's doing the video for Hounds of Love. We did the video. We did the video over there. Flew over to
Ah,
do
okay.
it. So yeah, we played like the Henry Fonda Theatre in LA, which is like 1,000 cap. We did 2 nights and did the Hounds of Love video and did this enemy photo shoot and feature. Um, from Underdogs to Hounds of Love. That was the thing on the cover. I remember that. Um, yeah, just different times, but like great that, eh? Do you know what I mean? Like, I remember being the only people on that beach in LA in full suits and Dr. Martens. Full suits. It must have been 40 degrees, 38, 40 degrees. Just people like rollerblading around, and we were just like giving it the full indie pout. Love it.
Yeah, how did he get down in abroad? Where was like the best reception for you
So
guys?
we did really, really well in America to start with on that first album. I mentioned before we did a tour with Franz Ferdinand, 2004 September, that really helped us out, really opened a few doors, as it were. They were great guys to be around. And then we went back, and then we went back again. And I think we did like 6 tours of North America that year. We did a month in Canada, supporting Hot Hot Heat, who were
Oh yeah.
Canadian.
Oh, Steve spoke really highly of you actually. Yeah.
Yeah, they were great guys. He was a lovely fella, Steve. Um, yeah, and we did loads. So we're getting up to playing like 2,000 capacity rooms, which obviously, grand scheme of things, isn't much, but to us, it was like, it was really good. And I remember there being a thing with Warner Brothers on the first album where literally someone like missed an email and they didn't deliver the albums to Target. They like just didn't send them on the day that it was supposed to come out. So we'd done like
Oh,
this, and then it just went like basically off a
nah.
cliff. And our manager like flew to LA and like went into the head of Warner Brothers and demanded that we got released from the record label, like because of their fuck up, and they let us off. So we left Warner Brothers in America and signed for Sire Records, Seymour Stein, who did like Madonna and that. How come I'm talking about Madonna so much today? I don't even know anything about Madonna. We did like loads of cool records as well. And so our second record in America is on Sire.
Oh,
So,
okay.
but yeah, we did well in America, did well in Japan, played Australia a few times. We toured Australia with Queens of the Stone Age.
Wow.
That was a great. That was the opposite of the Linkin Park experience. That was like they were just like tough. They were like blokes. Do you know what I mean? Like proper gadgets, like playing some riffs. Do you know what I mean? And it was like awe-inspiring watching them. They were a great band to play with. We did 2 or 3 tours of Australia. Yeah, but then, festivals in Europe. We never did like really, really, really well in Europe. It was mainly the UK and America.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that Target thing's mad then. So is that the type of thing where if you miss it, it's not a
Yeah.
case of like just getting in there later.
Well, it
It's
was
like
just
you've
like
missed the boat kind of thing.
we missed the boat, and so like it was just like it's boring technical stuff. But like all the, at the time, like all the long lead press and all that type of stuff had been like set for this
Right,
day,
yeah, yeah.
and then it was all a month out of whack. And like literally everyone else who was at like all the big shop placements, all their press was out for that next month. So we were just like done. And it was a bit like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? You're done now. We missed that. Oh well.
No,
Cheers.
yeah.
Cheers, guys.
Someone got sacked for that, surely.
Yeah.
But yeah, talking to Block Party, they had well, kind of a similar thing with their album getting leaked. So it kind of killed their press build up and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's just mad, innit?
It's just annoying. You know what's really weird about the music industry? It's an industry where I would definitely say as I've become an adult, I realise that no one really knows what they're doing. But in the music industry, people definitely don't know what they're doing. They definitely, you get people who do, but there's always people who are just like basically incompetent. And it's like they're dialing it in for a living. They like this band, but they're working on that band and they've missed that and they forget that. Or it's just like the way that like bands are represented sometimes, like if you miss the voice of the band and how they talk and how they present themselves, if you just get it slightly wrong, it can have a huge detrimental effect, I think. Because if you're pushing like this is what we're about, and the label come out from a different way without telling you it was going to happen, it can just go a little bit wrong. And that sometimes it's just laziness. It's just lazy people who like, there's so many good people who work in the music industry, there really are, and there were back then. But they're just like every now and then you just know you'd come across someone who like they didn't really know who you were. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh hi guys, you're the guys from the other country. Yeah, how's it going? It's just like, right, okay, you didn't know we were coming in for this meeting, did you? Do you know what I mean? And it's like, and they're the guys that miss the emails. They're the guys that miss the trucks. They're the guys that don't get your albums delivered, or get the credits wrong on records, or miss clearance syncs or something like that. Which thankfully has never happened to us. But like, that admin that you don't do yourself, that you trust other people to do, is quite often done wrong.
Yeah, yeah. No, I was talking to an A&R guy that basically said he got paid to do nothing for 5 years because he signed a couple of good bands in the 2000s, kind of thing. That type of thing
100%.
going on.
100%. And you can
Yeah.
understand it because you always think, well, he might get the next one. It's really sad. There was a guy called Isaac who put out our records over in America. And we met up with him more recently, and he said these days he does A&R at Warner's, and he says that he scrolls through TikTok. It's his job.
Depressing, isn't it?
It's just like, and I think about like what it was like for us, like playing them gigs in Sunderland at the early doors, and there being like 250 people in a 200 capacity room, and it being like packed out and like sweating and giving your all, and like people being like, "Oh, it's amazing," and buying your demo and that, and then like starting off your band like that, rather than like, can't imagine setting up a like camera in the recording studio. It's like that's not how it should be done. I know that I sound like an old fart, but it's just not how it should be done.
Nah, I
Like
agree. Yeah.
you need to be in the room. You need to be like kind of being crap and loud and like smashing it out. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I think you'd see Jack White's speech the other night at the
Nah.
what did they got the White Stripes got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or something.
Nice.
But his speech was like, yeah, people need to get off the screen and get into a garage.
Well, yeah, that's it.
Or
Yeah.
bands
I mean,
do, sorry.
I've seen a similar thing with Dave Grohl where he's saying like young bands should be in like their mum and dad's garage, like sucking, and they should suck and for ages. And they should learn and they should learn other people's songs, and they should suck playing them, and they should write their own songs, and they should be terrible because that's how it starts. I remember I mentioned earlier Ross runs a festival, and like I went to it's on the seafront, and I like to go and support it and see what he's got on. And we went down the year before last, and it was just chucking it down, like bucketing it down. So we ended up going in the tent instead of the main stage. And there was like some like local kind of like music projects, kids playing, and they all had like kind of knee-length combats on, vests, playing like dreadful looking guitars through multi-effects pedals, and it was just perfect. I was like, this is what you should be like when you're 15. Do you know what I mean? Like doing covers of songs you think are great, but then like doing them faster because like you think that's better. Do you know what I mean? And like just like really thin distortion or a wah-wah pedal or something. It's like good for you because you're having it. Do you know what I mean? Like class.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Better than
it's
TikTok,
interesting.
innit? To be honest.
No, definitely. I think all kind of art is suffering from being viewed through a screen, isn't it?
Yeah, just a shame.
Yeah,
It's a live medium, really, isn't it?
no, exactly. Right, next song. Again, one that maybe people wouldn't expect, but Bruce Springsteen in the 2000s. Why
Yeah.
this song?
Well, it's a funny one with Bruce, right? Because I put him in because of how much I love him in general. Like, The Rising isn't one of my favourite Bruce Springsteen albums ever. But I was listening to it more recently because I went to see the film. I went to see the biopic from Norway, which I thought was excellent. But Bruce Springsteen, for me, when I was first getting into music, and then even with that song, he has this ability to like write about things right in front of him that make me 5,000 miles away in a like northeast town think he's singing about me. He manages to speak in metaphors without meaning to do it, right? And if he tried to do it, it would be crap. But he doesn't. He writes songs like so he's writing that song, The Rising's like it's about firemen, right? Going up the stairs in the Twin Towers. But it sounds like it's a metaphor for your life. And it's like, I don't know how he does it. So he does it because he's a genius, right? He's a brilliant songwriter, he's an amazing storyteller. I think, like if I listen to those like that run of albums like Born to Run, Darkness, The River, Nebraska, even bits of Born in the USA, I just hear like me kind of early 20s of like developing away from just post-punk and away from the stuff I listen to, the time like the kind of jazz stuff that I would listen to, and being like, this is like the Americana thing and like storytelling and metaphor, but like just great songwriting. I came away from that Bruce Springsteen film just being like, he just writes great songs. He just writes lyrics about what he sees, but he like writes them in a really amazing way. And he's just, I know he's like kind of cheesy. He's just the fucking best. Like he's just amazing. I went to see him last year with Ross, played the Stadium of Light, and it was that one where it was like biblical rain, biblical. And he plays for 3 hours, right? We were there for an hour and a half before he came on, and the rain was so bad that like all the trains had been cancelled. So we were
Oh, wow.
standing in the football stadium thinking like this gig's not going to happen. This gig's not going to happen. They'd come on, they'd take all the covers off like Nils's guitars and get everything done, and then they put them all back on because there was another train coming in. He didn't want to start without people being there, but we didn't know that at the time. And I've got like a bit of a reputation in our band of being like jokingly negative, right? because I'm always like, the shite, they're not as good as Queen. The shite, they're not as good as Led Zeppelin, right? But like, honestly, that gig, like, it changed my life. And I was like 42. Like, I watched it and it was like incredible. I had like a moment. And like, people talk about that, like, normally about like cooler bands or something like that. But he came out, his voice was a bit knackered. It was just like he played all. I love Bruce, right? But he played like all the ones I'd want to hear, and he didn't like play like the indulgent ones. He played like his hits for 3 hours, and I remember just standing there like after like 25 minutes, just being like, "This is amazing," and then after an hour being like, "My God," and then after 2 hours just being like, it was just amazing. Like when he couldn't sing it, like the crowd was singing "Hungry Heart," and it was just like, honestly, this moment of just like, this is like proper godlike songwriting, performance, nostalgia, current brilliance. But this particular song, The Rising, I actually had only just really got into Bruce Springsteen a couple of years before this. And then this came out and I bought it. And I was like, it's not as good as Born to Run, which is fair enough. But also, it is kind of amazing. And like that way, sorry, I know I'm rabbiting here, but
That's all right.
the way that he talks in that first verse about something that's very literal, but can be applied to like something that you feel miles away. I'm not talking about having empathy with a firefighter. I'm talking about like it feeling like he's writing a metaphor for my life, and I love that.
Yes. Yeah, well, let's play it then. Here's Bruce Springsteen with The Rising. Yeah, I'll have to go see that film. Not seen it yet.
Oh,
But
it's really good, and Jeremy Allen White's class, and he does a bit too much of a Bruce Springsteen impression when they play live, where he's doing like the faces and that. But it's just like, you know what it is? I know I've talked a little bit about the music industry and management. I came away from that film thinking Bruce Springsteen's amazing at writing songs, and Bruce Springsteen really loves his manager, John Landau, because there's a bit where he asked, I'm not going to spoil it, but basically Bruce writes Nebraska, and some of the songs were born in the USA at the same session and in his bedroom, and he basically wants to release that. And the management's like, you can't. Like, where's the singles? He's like, no singles, no press, no photos. It's coming out like this, not re-recorded. They've had a go at re-recording some of them. And the manager's like almost like going like, okay, Bruce. But then it shows you the manager talking to the label and being like, in this office, we do what Bruce Springsteen wants. And he doesn't want to do that. And so that's what you're gonna do. And I was like, fucking hell. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, and it's not like a small town thing. It's like, we're talking about people who want to sell 20, 30 million albums. And he did exactly what he wanted. And like, I think for someone of that prestige to just be like, no, I'm just going to do this. It's kind of amazing. And I know I'm supposed to, like, I do love the album Nebraska. And I love how it's different and I love all that stuff. But there is an amazing moment where you're supposed to think that, but then they do the recording of Born in the USA. And it shows them just get like smashing the drums and how well it works with the synths. And you're sitting there in the cinema going, it's still good, this one, on it. Because he's so honest, though. He's so like, I mean, obviously Born in the USA is like an anti-America song about the hideous foreign policy, about Vietnam. And like, you're just like, it's so angry. And it's like, yeah, man. It's kind of like punk, but like being like stadium rock cheese punk. It's class.
I look forward to seeing it. And then another huge act, band, Radiohead. Why this particular song?
Yeah, so this particular song was picked because it is from the time period, and also like it's about the arrangement for me. So within the band, I would say that like we all liked Oasis and that type of thing. And then Ross and I, it's one of the very few occasions where I've showed Ross an artist and not the other way around. But my sister was at uni and loved Radiohead, and he'd always thought they were a bit kind of like pompous and crap. And I remember going around his with OK Computer in the Benz and sticking them on and was talking about Radiohead, and he really liked them. And like that kind of like forged our friendship. Then when we met Barry, he loved OK Computer in the Benz as well. And I think if I look back at the 90s now, those two records still kind of stand the test of time in the 90s. I remember Kid A coming out, I think it came out in 2000, and being like so excited, but like Radiohead had just gone on this like new journey of like no guitars, basically. It's like synths for Kid A and Amnesiac, and that's fine. It's less my kind of wheelhouse really, but this song is like an acoustic song. It's got this amazing bass line on. And sometimes I used to think about the difference. There's many, many differences now. I know more. But I used to think about the difference between like Radiohead and Oasis, and how where you got like basically like Noel Gallagher would write these songs and just be him and an acoustic guitar. And at the time, me thinking like that's just amazing. And then hearing Radiohead songs and they'd be like that, but they'd also have an arrangement behind them where Johnny Green would be doing a thing, there'd be a bass line, the drummer would be doing something like Phil Selby's an amazing drummer. And on this record, there's just like I remember thinking when I heard it, if someone brought that song into a recording studio, I would never think to play a bass line like this. And it worked. It's got this like a boom, 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 like wandering thing. And I just remember thinking like it ties it all together, but it's interesting. And as a bass player, I just kind of loved it. Plus, at this time, Tom York's still singing words. He kind of doesn't bother with words now. He just makes like inaudible sounds. And it's just like he's forgotten like the 21 consonants or whatever. He just does vowel sounds. So he's got this like amazing, like I think this is a great song.
Yeah, it's okay. Well, here it is. Here's Radiohead with How to Disappear Completely. And then next, a band that I've not heard of before, Farrakhet.
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 So
Yeah, I did, what did I
Farrakhet.
put in my notes? I put maybe at the driving vibes,
Yeah,
possibly.
yeah. I mean, I think At the Driving would have quite a lot of the same influences as Farrakhet. So Farrakhet came out of that kind of like DC hardcore, post-hardcore math rock. I'd say they were math rock, which is an awful term. They're a band that like when we started in Sunderland, right? Everyone was listening to these bands like Fugazi, Cuban Not You, and like I didn't really get it to start with. I was a bit like, okay, so I'm supposed to like these bands, but really I want to listen to fucking Don't Stop Me Now again and again and again, right? That's just me, right? But then I would hear them, and Farrakhet was one of the records that like someone loaned us. I think I had it on mini disc, which
Yeah.
probably tells you the time. And I remember just thinking like the arrangement of these guitars is brutal. They've just got this like sound, this aggression. It's mathy, but it's songwriting still. And after I got into these, I actually got more into the music that they like sounded like. Um, it's not particularly melodic, which is one of the things that I'm normally into, like melody, I would say personally. But as a band, like we sound checked out this riff. It's like a weird time signature. I'm always playing it on the bass. Barry plays the guitar, Ross plays the guitar, and I love how it sounds together, the polyrhythms and stuff. But one of the things that like fascinates us most about them is that remember I said earlier that like we'd come back to Sunderland after being away, and there'd be like another 5 bands that cropped up like this, and another couple of bands. When you read a bit more about this band, they formed in like '97 or something, and they only did one album, and then they split up. And I just remember thinking, like, I wonder if that's what it's like in DC as well, where the people were like, oh, well, we're going to get together and do a thing, and then we'll go off and do something else. Do you know what I mean? And like, there was this like, I don't know, the idea of this like community, but everyone doing their own thing and then being like, yeah, I'm done with that now. We did this amazing math rock record, but now I'm not going to tour it. I can't be bothered, but it's out there. And I think that's kind of amazing. But the guitar sounds and the playing on this record is brutal.
Okay, so well, here's a song. Here's Cut Self Not by Farrakhet. And then, yeah, Change of Pace to finish. Magic Numbers.
Yeah.
Why this particular band and song, yeah?
So there's a few reasons why I love this band. They're like they're very indie in comparison, I suppose. Melodic, I wouldn't say twee, but I would say kind of like a lot more throwaway and less serious than Farrakhet. And there's a few reasons why I picked this song. It's got some like really good memories for me from the time. Me fiance at the time, she loved this band, and she loved the female singer in the band who doesn't play the bass, the other one. She thought she was an amazing backing vocalist, and it was one of the things we'd go and watch them and be like, and look at more than just a guitar player. I think the brother and sister, the bass player and Romeo, the singer, and like they had this like really weird dynamic. But she's an amazing bass player as well. This song's got an amazing bass line, really strong, like almost like Carol Kay kind of Beach Boys era bass. And he would just write these melodies and tunes that were just like great. And I used to listen to this Magic Numbers record all the time because Marie loved it. We played with them a little bit in Japan. We did karaoke on the same night as them, hung out a little bit. They were really nice. It's just like when I was thinking about like what could I pick that other people wouldn't really pick that I love. There was a few bands and there was a couple that I've missed that I like really wish I'd showcased. But I love the Magic Numbers and I love the fact they're a little bit different to a lot of the other stuff I've picked. So yeah, I love this record.
Yeah, quality. Okay, well here they are. Here's Magic Numbers with "Love Me Like You." Yeah, I posted their NME cover recently on Instagram as well. They had one
Right, okay. They do
same
want to
year,
that,
I
don't
think
they?
same year as you guys. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I want to obviously talk about the upcoming album. So I
Hmm.
think in your own words, it's a collection of reimagined, much loved Christmas classics and a new song, "The
Yeah.
Coldest Winter in 100 Years." And there's also another song that he did a while ago as well. "Christmas Was Better Than It in the 80s." That's a song he did a few years ago
Yeah,
already.
about 2011, 10, 10, 11, something like that. Yeah, so what happened was 3 years ago, someone asked us if we want to do a gig in Sunday Christmas time. And we were like, yeah, because it'll be a laugh and no one's got anything on. So we did this gig, but we're like, you know what? Let's learn a couple of Christmas songs. Like let's have a bit of a laugh. So we learned like the Wizard one, which we didn't really change much and just did a kind of like straight up cover for it, like at the end of the encore. We learned I can't even remember what we did that first time. We learned a couple of Christmas tunes and did it. And it was great. And then the year after, someone else was like, "Oh well, why do you?" I think I was in Newcastle at the boiler shop, and then they were like, "Oh, do you want to come to Sunderland and do it at the fire station?" So we were like, "Yeah, okay, why not?" So we did learn some proper like a decent amount of Christmas songs for that one, and we did "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas," which was my favorite. I put that one forward. 12 Days of Christmas, Carol of the Bells, Jonah Louise, Stop the Cavalry, um, and we learned these songs and did the gig, and the gig was just class. It was like the best work stew you've ever been at. Everyone was pissed. Everyone was like pissed off. Everyone was having a laugh. People were singing along. We played like 5 or 6 Christmas songs and did like the hits type of things. You know what I mean? And like the beginning of the twist, and everyone went up. You know, in Sunderland, it was class. And then we had the idea of saying like we got to January and we're like we should record them while we remember how to play them. You know what I mean? So we don't have to like go
Yeah,
through learning them all again and all that type of stuff. And so we had this idea of recording them and then putting them out. So then became the opportunity to do that Futureheads thing of like, well, what do we want to do, and then how do we want to do it? Because like we like to do everything our way. So we recorded all ourselves. Barry's got his own studio now. He runs like a degree level course. So he's got his studio with all these good mics, and he and Dave, well, he was learning engineer. Dave was setting up the sessions, and we just turn up and like get together. And there's a certain thing about recording covers where there's complete freedom because there's no pressure because everyone knows how the song goes. So you can do your bit and you can make it sound better, but there's no kind of like, oh, this song needs a new section. It's like, no, the song's the song. Do you know what I mean? It's like you can work out what guitar sound you're gonna have for the dun, 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 but ultimately that's there. That's got to be there because you're doing the cover of the song. And I have to say, I loved the process. It was just hanging out with my best mates, recording this music that was like nostalgic, forward thinking with our arrangements of it, I would say. Um, I can't wait for people to hear it. For me, it's really exciting. They're not just stand up, they're not just straight up covers. I mean, we've done a cover version of Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. It's like swing or something, and we've like tried to do it, and we try to do it a little bit Twin Peaks, and we try to do it with all these chords in and like these guitar effects, and then it's got the harmonies, but then also it sounds a bit like kind of Sergeant Pepper's era Beatles. It's just honestly it was an amazing experience recording these songs. So yeah, there's eight covers. We've written a new song. Ross has written a new song that he wrote. It's like an a cappella, almost like a medieval madrigal or something. Um, with some brilliant lyrics and imagery, and I think about the coldest winter in 100 years. And a while ago, we did a Christmas song called Christmas Was Better in the 80s. So we put that on there as well, just because it felt weird to not have it on. We haven't done anything apart from remaster it. But as always with these things, the best intentions, um, it took ages. So we started recording it in January. And then all of a sudden, we did the kind of singles tour. So we were like rehearsing for that. Then we went away on tour. Then we got back and we were like, well, we should see our families and do our jobs for a bit. And then it got to like summer holidays when we could do it again. So we're recording these Christmas songs in the summer holidays. And we were actually recording. I sing a version of In the Bleak Midwinter,
All right.
the traditional one. And I was singing, it's quite a soft, mellow song. And Sunderland scored a goal to, I think, either get promoted or they're in the first game back or something like that. And the whole town went up, like literally, because we record on top of a pub, the whole town went up, and I had to like record my vocals, redo it. Like it was kind of amazing.
Have you got a version with that in there?
We will have, yeah,
That's
definitely.
it.
We
Yes,
should,
yeah.
we should, yeah. It can't have been when they went up because something else really weird happened to me that day. I was playing cricket in Sunderland, and I hit a four just as Sunderland scored a goal, and the whole club went up, and I thought they were all clapping me. So I was just like raising me bat, then I realised what had gone on. So there must be something I did, but Sunderland definitely scored. I can't remember the timing of it, and the whole town went up. It was class. But yeah, I think the idea, because we're going to do 4 shows at Christmas, we're doing 2 at the fire station that have basically sold out now, doing 1 in London and 1 in Glasgow, and we're doing the Glasgow one because we missed it on the last tour. I can't remember why we didn't go, but I think it was me that couldn't do the date, the only date that was on there, so we couldn't do it. So we're going up to Glasgow, and we just love playing together. Like getting in the van now has never been more fun. Do you know what I mean? We all love hanging out. We don't see each other all the time, so it's like great. Now have you heard this? Have you done that? What do you think of this? And it's just class playing together live. So doing a few covers and a few hits is like a no-brainer, but it's still like aggressive and punk rock. Do you know what I mean? Like our version of 12 Days of Christmas is like, I think it's class. I really like I'm really proud of the album. So we do. I don't want to give spoilers away now because I've mentioned quite a few, but there's 8 really well-known songs on there, all re-recorded, all done by us, all released by us. Ross and Barry went to the pressing plant the other day to pick up the vinyls. You know,
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
we've paid for it all. We've done it all. You know, try and get a bit of radio out of it. Try and get like a few more shows out of it. But ultimately, it's like that thing of like, we'll have that record forever. I've got a Christmas album. You know, like we dressed up the studio for the artwork in September. Took my Christmas tree. It's got like me Fortnum and Mason hamper out my mum's like loft, you know what I mean? And like got all this stuff kicking about and like all these old decks that we had to buy and find and stuff like that. It's just been a really fun experience. It's been like really arty for a covers thing. It's been class. I love it.
No, it looks. I'm looking at the website now. It does look cool. And
It's
like,
funny though, because on the front cover they were like, right, everyone look at the camera and be really moody. And then I do that and everyone else, I just look like a miserable twat and everyone else looks kind of all right.
well,
Typical
Barry
me.
looks like he's got his eyes closed or something. But yeah.
I think Barry does have his eyes closed on that one. We were
All
just
right.
like, Baz, do you want to use a different photo? He's like, no, man, it looks like I'm really channeling Christmas. But the thing is about Christmas, right, is that it's proper cheesy, isn't it? But isn't it just great? Like, like as you get older as well, like your family and the kids and like time off work and drinking with your mates and eating too much food, it is just a class time. So you hear all them old songs and you're like, I remember being a kid and hearing this. I mean, I'm not one of them ones who'd have it on now. My current girlfriend, like, literally has Christmas radio on already. Do you know what I mean? But like, I love it. So Christmas can be as cheesy or as punk rock as you want it to be, really. So it doesn't always have to be Sir Cliff. It can be better than that.
No, I'm looking forward to hearing it. But production wise, then is it Barry that takes the lead on that, or is it more democratic?
I mean, it depends what you mean by production these days. It's recording, really. I mean, the
Yeah.
production side of it would be arrangement, we all do. And then mic placement was Barry and Dave, you know, like they would set it up. But really, it's all about the recording, the play, and the arrangement of these songs. There's not much production going on A&R wise. It's just like, okay, should we do this one on piano? Ah, okay. Do you know what I mean? And then like base it around that. But like the record kind of showcases the 3 sides of the band, which is the angular punk rock side, the kind of more piano-based singing side, and then the a cappella side. So there's an a cappella version of a Christmas song on there as well.
Yes. Well, let's finish on Christmas was better in the '80s. Then it feels like a fitting end.
Bit and end. Yeah, nice one, man.
So yeah, here's the Futureheads with Christmas was better in the '80s. Uh, would you agree with that? Is that your idea? Whose idea was that?
It was Barry's that one. I think I remember thinking, like, at the time, like, if we're only going to write one Christmas song, is it not a bit negative? But I think it's just getting at that idea of like Christmas was better when you were a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, you know, collective memory and nostalgia and all that of like the snow was deeper in the 80s. You know what I mean? It's like it wasn't. You know, it's just like you were only 3 foot tall, so it seemed to be colder. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Nice, isn't it? I
I
was
kind of
enjoying
like
it
that.
listening to it earlier.
Yeah, nice.
But I always, just to finish on, appreciate you to give me a lot of time now, mate. But I always ask people, is there a high point about the early days? And is there anything you do differently?
I think the high point of the early days, really, for me, we did 2 nights at the Astoria in London, and it felt like we were like on the crest of a wave of like playing really well, we're getting on really well. I was like super proud of like how far we'd come and what we were doing, and felt like really like on the top of our game, like as a band as being relevant and like having something to say. And I would say that was for me personally. I mean, I could pick 100 moments that I felt like that, but that one for me like really stands out. The 2 nights at the Astoria, and that's gone now that venue. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So that for me, so that'll have been 2004. Um, and then what was the other one where we've done anything differently? I don't know, man, because there's that thing of like, doesn't everything happen for a reason? You know, like sometimes you have to give yourself up to the process a little bit. I kind of agree with that. I wouldn't have done that Linkin Park tour, and I wouldn't have gone to Nuneaton. But other than that, other than those two things, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, nice one, mate. I'll let you go. But cheers for that, mate. Really
Cheers,
enjoyed
man.
it.
Thanks very much. Enjoyed it. Cheers, pal.
Yeah, all right. See you in a bit.
Ta-ra.